vertical integration happening because it's like Chipotle kind of has the power of like picking from quite a few suppliers as far as all these organic farms. You get one organic farm that tries to get into this industry, they have no leverage with anybody else, you know, like Chipotle would do. So I don't see that being as a threat at all as far as vertical integration.
I mean, they could form a cooperative somehow, and, you know, I mean, it's possible. You have, you know, a couple of farmers get together.
Farmer who grows wheat and lettuce and tomatoes, and the farmer who grows pork.
It happens though.
Grows it. They grows it.
There's a bakery in New Braunfels where that happened that used to supply bread to a lot of like the higher end
Yeah, I mean, Broadway Daily
restaurants
Bread
in town,
and
yeah.
Promised Land Dairy are two good examples. But I don't know how much that applies to fast casual.
Now, with fast casual, though, there's a lot that they need to take into consideration. Yes, it could happen. I wouldn't say that it cannot happen. But this person will have to, the bakery will have, the baker will have to not only just bake the bread, but he'll have to grow the chicken or, you know, engage in some, he had some meat, bring the meat in, bring the vegetables in, all that stuff to make a fast casual restaurant. So it's a little more difficult. Can it happen? Absolutely. It could happen, but it's very, very, and that's why we don't say it's impossible. We say there's a low threat. We don't say it's not possible at all. But from Andrew's point, he said no vertical integration, right? So we talked about threat of forward integration. What do you think about threat of backward integration? Okay, okay.
I was going to say,
you go ahead.
I think it's much more likely that you'd be able to have backward integration from what's already set up with the fast casual industry than forward integration.
Are you talking about their buyers though? You're talking about the buyers of the fast casual.
Chipotle, the fast casual restaurants working backwards, having their own supply of
Oh
something.
no, I can see that, but is that what we talk about when we talk about industry, or do we talk about the people that buy the stuff becoming a threat?
Now
Well,
that
they are a buyer in a different sense.
there you go.
They are
And that-
buying,
and that,
yeah,
So
okay.
it covers both.
You've just beautifully added another layer of complication, because now who's the buyer? Who's the supplier is something that we've got to think about. So we hear now, when there's threat of backward integration, who are you as a buyer, right? Who are you threatening is something you've got to think about, because the buyer is us, the consumer, the end consumer. But Chipotle as a buyer would not belong to this industry analysis, it would belong to another industry analysis. Does that make sense? Here Chipotle is in the middle, the rivalry is in the middle, and the buyers and the suppliers are on opposite ends.
So I can make my own sandwiches. So you know.
Oh, is that your point?
So,
You guys are-
what I was going to say is that because of the nature of the fast casual, because it uses real ingredients, not a bunch of proprietary different, mixes and whatnot, it's actually very easy to make a burrito at home.
Perfect.
So if the price happens to go up, or if for any type of factors that would make it harder to buy that product, it would be so easy to go buy even more specifically what type of food you wanted for a lower price at a grocery store and make it yourself. Backwards integration is a threat.
So would that be a
But
substitute
where do
then?
we put that?
No, that's a
Substitute?
buyer, yeah.
Well, okay, yes, from that point, yes,
Yeah, it's not
absolutely. Absolutely. So here's another case where you could put it in one of the two. You can either make a case for it as being a substitute, or you can put it in the buyer's power and say, hey, I'm threatening to engage.
Make your own food.
Make my own food.
And
I love
it
that.
would be all organic, you wouldn't have to worry about it harshly.
No, because you have to make like 10 of them. I'm not
You can
making
have a
10
little garden in
burritos.
your backyard, grow some
Plus
tomatoes
you
and
gotta
lettuce.
cook everything. Too much work.
That's real organic. You can even have some little chicken coop too. If you really wanted to.
Plus I can't. What?
That's
not gonna be, you're not gonna be kind of your neighbors right there. That's too much.
Let's just have a few more and then it's time enough, guys.
I couldn't kill
Don't look like
Back
you
on
would.
that though with the buyers. So
You would definitely
getting
make
on
your own burrito.
different industry for a second just to understand. So
I'm sorry, say that again.
getting on a different industry just for a second to understand definition of buyer, right?
Uh-huh,
So Walmart, right?
uh-huh,
They are a buyer, but we also are buyers from Walmart.
absolutely.
It won't work the same way for Chipotle being buyers of, okay.
And I'll tell you why. You got to put whatever industry you're analyzing in the center, right? The intensity of rivalry is in the center. If you look at Porter's picture, the intensity of rivalry is in the center. That's the industry. So the industry, when it's the fast casual, it's in the center, the buyers are not Chipotle. The buyers are,
Okay, I got you. I'm following up.
that's why I said that would be a different industry. some more rivalry factors. I know you guys are tired already, but just a few more.
I have a question. So, would y'all consider La Madeleine fast food?
That's like restaurants.
That's a restaurant.
That's a restaurant. I consider it's like, it's fast, like you go through the line and you sit down.
I don't know, I've
But they bring the food.
Because, I mean, La Madeleine has their food like in the grocery store and buy their soup because it's become so popular, you go and buy it off the shelf. So,
I think it's a little more
Maybe
like
I'll
a
need
beach
to do
store
more,
restaurant.
you'll need to do more research into La Madeleine to see how they define themselves.
okay.
So what about Slotsky's? Because it's upscale.
That's delicatessen.
Right, guys, getting off of what goes into fast casual. 4-5
Any rivalry comments?
Mm,
It seems to be.
So what to you, besides the example of Shalatsky's, the fast food restaurants, rivals this experience?
I hate to like, my answer is gonna be that I feel like that it's more about organic food with this industry, that it's not just, that's what drives the cost up. So I feel like what we've said earlier, there is very few rivalries because there's a limited supply of that, the chickens running around free range and all that, there's a limited supply of that, so I think that it's causing a limited rivalry.
I would say that's almost perfectly accurate, except there's one other key element to the whole experience. You're getting a chef's style preparation of food. It's, as we've already remarked, and I'm sure you've seen,
Yeah.
it's not a fast food setting style kitchen. It's an actual kitchen with real tools and stoves and whatnot. And while you don't have a chef preparing it, usually you do not, it's a similar style of experience. So you're not just getting the fresh food, but you're also getting the experience of having someone prepare it, as opposed to just having it prepared or packaged or processed.
But Fuddruckers did this like 30 years ago with hamburgers, like same concept, I think. And you had all the fresh vegetables there, and they cooked it for you right then and there. So I don't know, I think that I think it's a lot of marketing, and that's what I was saying earlier.
There's a lot of perception for sure, which is why I said let's get off of,
Yeah.
whether this restaurant belongs there or not. Now here's what I want, okay, we'll hear your point and then I have something to say.
For rivalry, could you, like, if you step, because we say Taco Bell is a rival, but they're not in the fast casual. So couldn't you say food trucks are a rival because they're serving it up right there? Like, there's an ambiance about it. It's a food truck. Like, you're outside, you're enjoying it, and it's served right to you. But it's like, there's nice like food trucks that serve like organic food, stuff like that.
Probably go more to the
I probably put it in
It's
substance.
a different
Substitute.
industry.
Okay.
Okay, here's what I want all of you to do now. Pull out your Porter's paper. I can see that a lot of you have not, you've made notes and all that, but you've not read the paper. Okay? Pull out your Porter's paper, and I want you to focus on intensity of rivalry. The fourth page talks about intensity of rivalry. Spend a few minutes reading what he means about what are the factors that will increase rivalry or decrease rivalry in an industry, and then talk to them. Sorry. I want all of you to look at your notes or your papers. You guys have not read the paper. Many of you have not read the paper.
So like, I understand rivalry also includes so like in the sense that rivalry with suppliers. Now, 3 companies competing and there's only a few suppliers towards that. Supplier can boost the price, correct, but then the buyer is also going to be the one with the bidding wars or something?
Yes. Read the paper. Open the paper. I want you to read. There's something that Porter talks about that is exactly what you just said.
I don't remember what it was.
That's fine. I just look it up and. Because unless you know what causes intensity of rivalry, you will not be able to analyze what's happening in that industry. I want you guys to just give me 2 good points after reaching Porter's. I don't care who talks. 2 good points about the rivalry in the fast casual restaurant based on what you read. let me start you off on one. Exit barriers. How are the exit barriers in the fast casual industry? Non-existent right now, right? Is it easy to get out of the fast casual restaurant industry? Absolutely. So, low exit barriers.
When there's more competition, sorry, where'd it go? Yeah, so more when competition is numerous or roughly equal in size and power, rivals find it hard to avoid poaching business.
Okay, so now you're talking about the size of the different competitors, right? Rephrase that and give it to me in terms of the size. Yes? No, you can talk about something else. I'm coming back to Calgary for that.
It's a high growth industry, so they aren't worried about stealing market share from each other. Everyone's kind of able to grow right now, it seems like.
Okay, I mean, we talked about it, but it was not, you guys, right, we talked about something else, the growth of the industry, the growth, it's a high growth industry.
We already wrote that.
Oh, there you go, perfect, I knew we talked about that. Okay, I want you guys, while we're doing this, I want you guys to make a decision on whether those factors have an up arrow or a down arrow, high power or low power. Yes, she's got something.
It's really, I mean, it's not clearly stated in the policies. I want to know what about the competition now that we have what about the competition to the factors?
Okay.
Fast casual. Just the factor due on the kind of loss of promise, the customer promise.
I love that. Okay, so G's talking about, let's not talk cost related. What about after the E. coli incident? What about the promise that was made to the consumer from that angle, from that perspective? So the fast casual restaurant makes promises. Are we all agreed on that? Kind of. They make promises. Promises have not been kept by one of the best restaurants in the fast casual industry. So now, which force would talk about that?
Will that be an opportunity for rivalry?
What's that?
Would that be an opportunity for rivalry?
Okay, so that could be an opportunity for rivalry. How would you phrase it?
Well, I think that's what we were kind of mentioning at the beginning, but I guess it got to, it wasn't macroscopic as you wanted, because that's Chipotle's, that's what they're known for.
Okay. How about looking at it from a threat of new entrants point of view?
If they fall, then it allows for other people to get an opportunity.
Okay, so how's the customer loyalty? Remember we talked about customer loyalty for threat of new entrants as one of the factors that could influence that. How is customer loyalty now in that industry?
Loss of trust
So
allows.
will people switch from Chipotle? I want fresh food, I want organic food, or I want fresh food. Will I go somewhere else?
Yes.
I probably will, right? So customer loyalty in that industry, how, now if I'd asked you this question 3 months ago or 4 months ago, I probably would have got a different answer. Because Chipotle, there were people who believed in certain restaurants in the fast casual industry. That's been lost now, right? So now remember what I told you about strategic management, the analysis, it's dynamic. You've got to keep doing it because things keep changing, the industry, the environment keeps changing. Here's a good example for that. Customer loyalty now is at an all-time low. So how is that going to influence new entrants? Is it going to be possible for more folks to come in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably. And say, we are not like E. coli restaurant, we are more like
The lower barrier.
lower barrier.
We have our own free range chicken in the back and we cut their heads off every morning.
Okay, so have you guys made a decision on the other factors? So you do, now I want you guys to sum up the analysis and talk about how the forces are, just by looking at the whiteboard, how are the forces, each one of the forces for the fast casual industry? How's the threat of new entrants? Is it high or low?
Well, it's actually got split right now. For what we discussed, you have the lack of proprietary knowledge, and then you have customer loyalty, which helps you go up, but then you have two that are down for your supply sources, and startup costs are low. I figured right now it's 50-50 right now, that's why we're in the growth stage, but as soon as we start leveling out, it's going to be because the supply sources either going to increase, or the millennials' demand is just going to switch, and then we no longer care for it, so then that's going to go down completely, and then that's going to help change the lack of proprietary knowledge, the customer loyalty. And then for the startup costs being low, well, we have to be low right now. Otherwise, your competition is going to completely outsource you, and that's going to be their distinguishing factor. And then that'll go into the downward stage.
So that could be one way to do it. If you ever face a situation where you've listed out a bunch of different factors that influence a force, and you see it split. You say there are 3 that show that it's high, 3 that show it's low. You can say it's kind of, I hate the word medium, but I have students use it all the time. It's kind of medium. So if you have to say medium low or medium high. Okay, don't just go with the safe ground and say medium. But that's one way of doing that. Another thing you guys can do, and this is really, really important, not just from a project, but for your companies, look at how important each one of those factors are. Maybe one of those factors is very, very important and a huge threat of new entrants, and maybe that will outweigh. So attach scales, attach magnitude to each one of those things. And you may find that, okay, it is split, but hey, you know what? Startup costs are really low, which means it's going to be much easier for companies to come in. So that's another conclusion you guys can draw. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so be careful about how you do this analysis. Okay, next one.
So for the suppliers, there's a limited number of them, so that is obviously a cause for concern unless the trend indicates that there's just going to continue to be growth on the supply side, but for the time being, it's up, or it's a threat. Key ingredients for high quality, and then can supply to other industries. That gives them the power, as we mentioned, especially with the movement that Chipotle and other fast casual and healthy eating establishments have created. Not much of a threat of forward integration for the reasons we mentioned, because it's kind of like a bakery would be really the only example or something similar, but not, you wouldn't have a supplier going into the fast casual.
Okay.
There's a possibility, but.
So overall bargaining power of suppliers, what does it look like?
Very high, because when the ingredients are compromised, then the integrity of Chipotle is questioned, and it may not be directly their fault.
Okay,
but
all right.
Their power is high because they hold the cards in that control.
And that's the conclusion you have to reach for that one. The next one.
With the buyers, I feel like a lot of what we've been talking about today is trying to just define, trying to define the industry. And so, I mean, really with all these ethical awareness, cost sensitivity, buyers that are out there, different preferences, you're seeing that, this culture is really helping shape a lot of this, the fast casual industry that we're talking about. So a pretty high significance there.
Okay. So there's a high bargaining power of buyers are also high. One thing that you can easily add to that straight from the POTUS paper would be switching costs. There aren't too many switching costs for buyers to go from one fast casual restaurant to another fast casual restaurant, right? So that would be another thing to add to that, and that goes with your analysis, which is perfect. Buyers have bargaining power, high bargaining power. Fabulous. Next one, threat of substitutes.
I'd say the threat of substitutes based on, there's the fast food that's it'll take place, and then there's also grocery dining, delis. Really, I think the biggest threat is probably the fast food jumping into their category, especially if, customers are scared off from the E. coli threat. They'll more easily go to these substitutes. So the threat of substitutes is very high based on what we've got.
Beautiful, based on all the analysis that you've done. Okay, last one.
So the rivalries, the only real rivalry they've got is the local restaurants that they're competing with. Otherwise, because it's still a growing industry, the rivalry that they're facing is pretty low. And as a result of the low startup costs, the exit costs are also going to be low. So overall, I would say the threat of rivalry is low for the industry.
Beautiful, and that's what you do with an industry analysis. So when you guys analyze an industry for your company, for your project, you will do a lot more research. You will do a lot, we spent a lot of time today trying to figure out what a fast casual industry even means to begin with, right? And fair enough, because it is a relatively new industry. It wasn't there, 10 years ago? Fast casual was just kind of, some people were talking about it, now it's becoming more prevalent. So if you were to do this analysis for your company, like real world organizations, you will know what industry your company is a part of, right? You wouldn't have the problems we had in the classroom. Once you do that, define your industry, then you will talk about, I'm not kidding when I say Porter's paper is like a Bible for the industry forces. Use it. Look at those, he's got some very easy terminology for each one of those forces. What affects that force? Use it and keep it in your background and in the back of your mind, and try to think about what's going on in your industry in the context of what Porter has discussed. And when you do that, you'll be listing, okay, sorry, give me a few minutes and I'll give you this time back, okay? Then you'll start listing each one of the factors for each one of the forces. You have to determine whether it's a high force or a low force, and then reach an overall conclusion for each force after that. And that's your industry analysis. Now, quickly summing up, new entrants, what did you guys decide?
It's split, but I think it's a little bit more medium-high.
Okay, medium-high. So let's go with high. Just for now, medium-high, let's say medium-high. Bargaining power of suppliers. High. Bargaining power of buyers.
High.
Threat of substitutes.
High.
Intensity of rivalry.
Low.
So what do you, give me a conclusion about this industry overall. Does it look like, if I were a person looking outside in, do I want to enter this industry?
Yes.
Why would I want to come in? Right? But intensity of rivalry is low, so I may want to come in. But looking at everything else, high threat of substitutes, high bargaining power of buyers, high bargaining power of suppliers, maybe I don't want to. And with all the E. coli issues, I probably don't want to come in right now, maybe. That's the conclusion that I would reach at the end of why do you do Porter's 5 forces analysis? You do it to figure out if that industry is attractive or it's not attractive, does it have potential, all that stuff. So there is a reason for doing all this stuff. And I know today we took longer because this was a difficult assignment in terms of, the fast casual industry. But I wanted to bring it to your attention mainly because you will face things like this. So what is the most important thing you guys have to do before you start your industry analysis?
Research.
Thank you. Yes, research. You've really got to do very good research. And that's where, coming back to your point, Scott, you've got to define your industry really well. You can take things and consolidate them and kind of call it a certain industry under a certain umbrella, but you could make it very difficult for you because the suppliers will be different for different parts. Research. Lots of research. You will be doing all of this and coming to conclusions about the industry. Yes, but you will be able to do it. My students always are. Okay, good job, guys. You guys had a very difficult assignment. And
do you want us to do do we not need to do the recommendations then?
oh, you have the final slide, right?
Well, I mean, you kind of
Go fast.
Okay, let's talk about it. I'm keeping track of every minute, okay? And I promise you I'll give you this time back. All right. That way I can breathe. Sorry. Guys,
Recommendations for Chipotle. First and foremost, they need to regain the public trust by prioritizing customer health and safety, which so far they have done a pretty good job of doing. And they need to reinforce their strict sanitation in food prep areas to reduce cross-contamination within their food products that they're serving. It'd be good if they could source new ethical suppliers so that they can meet product demand, and this will also, as a result, keep their prices low because their supply is high. Following the transparency bandwagon to ensure safety and reliability. Continue to expand delivery services. Right now they have limited delivery available. It started out as only being available to about 40 college campuses. It's expanded since then, but it's still not available everywhere. They've developed an app that allows you to order through that and have it delivered to you, but it's still in the growing phases and it needs to be developed further. I also think that their delivery is kind of expensive. I've never ordered from them before, but from what I've heard, it's kind of expensive to have Chipotle delivered. One other thing would be to expand the menu and the hours to capture breakfast business. They have a great opportunity, especially down here in South Texas, where breakfast tacos are huge. It's big trend right now. And they could use a lot of the ingredients that they already use in their lunch menu, in their breakfast menu. They would just need to add like a couple things, like eggs and maybe bacon or something. So that would be a really easy way for them to capitalize on an entire different sector of business.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I feel goosebumps. And I'll tell you why. I'm taking a few more minutes, but this is beautiful. First point, public regain, public trust, etc., etc. What threat is that directly related to? The buyers. Remember the bargaining power of buyers directly relating to that. New ethical suppliers, etc., relating to the threat of the bargaining power of the suppliers. Continue to expand delivery services. And the next point, the threat of substitutes. So it's almost like they read your mind in terms of what you guys are going to suggest to go on the whiteboard. But it's real, guys. I mean, those are all threats and opportunities that you just listed on the whiteboard, and you come up with recommendations for those threats and opportunities. It's real. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I had no clue what the time was until I saw you glancing at the clock. Okay. So 9:27, I will give you guys back, not 7 minutes, I'll give you more than 7 minutes in the next two classes. Okay, next class, quarter paper is due, analyze it in the context of an industry, please read the paper properly first, summarize, apply it. Barley paper, read the barley paper before we come to class. I do not want what happened today. I want every one of you to read the barley paper. Okay, because that has direct implications for the race. That's about it. You guys? Okay. The quarter paper is due next week. Oh yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, ethics paper. In your ethics papers. No, next week. Okay. I'm confused.
Yo,
It's
what? Why does everyone bring that up?
Alright, ethics paper, ethics assignment due next week, 1 week from today. I want you guys to upload it on Turnitin.com. I've already created the link over there. What I want you to bring to class is one article for your ethics assignment. You probably referred a bunch of different articles. I'll also put this in announcements, but I want one article with your name written on it. Okay, just so I have the context for your ethics assignment. Make sense? Sorry. So then I think yes. Over the next few weeks, you guys are going to have a lot of things to do. Okay, so manage your time. Read the papers ahead of time. You're going to have a barley paper due the week after that. So read everything ahead of time.
My paper is done.
Okay, guys.